فلما جن عليه الليل رأى كوكبا قال هذا ربي فلما أفل قال لا أحب الآفلين.
Then when the night outspread over him, he beheld the star and said, "This is my Lord." But when it went down, he said, "I do not love the things that go down."
فلما رأى القمر بازغا قال هذا ربي فلما أفل قال لئن لم يهدني ربي لأكونن من القوم الضالين.
Then when he beheld the moon rising, he said, "This is my Lord." But when it went down, he said, "Were that my Lord did not guide me, I surely would have become among the people who have gone astray.
فلما رأى الشمس بازغة قال هذا ربي هذا أكبر فلما أفلت قال يا قوم إني بريء مما تشركون.
Then when he beheld the sun rising, he said, "This is my Lord. This is the greatest of all." Then when it went down, he said, "O my people, most certainly I am quit of those whom you associate with Allah in His divinity. O my people, most certainly I am quit of those whom you associate with Allah in His divinity." Here some light is thrown on the mental experience through which Abraham, peace be upon him, passed in the beginning, and which led him to an understanding of the truth before prophethood was bestowed on him. This experience shows how a right-thinking and sound-hearted man, who had opened his eyes in a purely polytheistic environment and had received no instruction in monotheism, was ultimately led to discover the truth by careful observation of and serious reflection on the phenomena of the universe. The account of the conditions prevailing among the people of Abraham, peace be upon him, shows that when he began to think seriously, the scene was dominated by the worship of the heavenly bodies, the moon, the sun, and the stars. It was natural, therefore, that when Abraham, peace be upon him, began his quest for the truth, he should have been faced with the question, is it possible that any of these, the sun, the moon, and the stars, is God? He concentrated his reflection on this central question, and by observing that all the gods of his nation were bound by a rigid law under which they moved about like slaves, he concluded that those so-called gods were not possessed of even a shadow of the power of the one true Lord, who alone had created them all and had yoked them to serve His will. The Quranic passage describing Abraham's reactions on observing first a star, then the moon, and finally the sun has puzzled some readers because the words seem to suggest that Abraham had never before witnessed these common phenomena. This misconception has made the whole narration such a riddle for some scholars that they could only solve it by inventing the strange anecdote that Abraham was born and grew to maturity in a cave and was thus deprived of the opportunity to observe the heavenly bodies. What is said, however, is so plain that one need not fall back on any such incident in order to comprehend it. It is well known, for instance, that when Newton saw an apple from a tree in his orchard, this incident instantly raised in his mind the question, why do things always fall to the ground? As a result of his reflection on this question, he arrived at his theory of gravity. On reading this incident, one might wonder if Newton had never before seen anything fall to the ground. Obviously, he must have seen things fall. For what reason, then, should the falling of an apple cause in his mind a reaction quite different from those caused by hundreds of earlier observations of similar things falling down? The answer is that a reflecting mind does not react uniformly to similar observations. A man may observe something over and over again without this observation creating any stir in his mind, but then there comes a moment when suddenly the same observation agitates his mind and his mental faculty begins to work in a different direction. It may also happen that while a man's mind is wrestling with a problem, he encounters something which is otherwise quite ordinary, but which suddenly seems to provide the key. Something to this effect happened with Abraham, peace be upon him. Certainly he was as familiar as anyone else with nightfall and the ensuing daybreak. The sun, the moon, and the stars had all risen before his eyes in the past, and had then disappeared from sight. But on one particular day, his observation of a star was to stimulate his thinking in a certain direction, and to lead him in the end to perceive the truth of God's oneness. It is possible that Abraham's mind was already engrossed in reflecting on whether, and if so, to what extent, the beliefs which served as the foundation of the entire life system of his people embodied the truth, when he spotted a star which provided him with the initial key to the solution of the problem. It is also possible that the observation of a particular star first set him thinking about the problem. Another question that arises is whether Abraham's statements about the star, the moon, and the sun show that he lapsed into polytheism temporarily. The answer must be that while a seeker after the truth may pause on the way to his goal, what really matters is his direction and the end point of his journey, rather than the intermediary stages. These stages are inevitable for every seeker of the truth. A man stops at them to inquire and question rather than to pronounce his final judgment. During these stages of the quest, a man may seem to express the opinion, that is so. But what he is really doing is asking himself the question, is it really so? When serious investigation leads to a negative answer, he proceeds further and continues the quest. Hence, it would be wrong to think of such a seeker having temporarily fallen victim to polytheism and unbelief whenever he paused at an intermediary stage for critical reflection.
إني وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين.
Behold, I have turned my face in exclusive devotion to the one who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am certainly not one of those who associate others with Allah in His divinity.
وحاجه قومه قال أتحاجوني في الله وقد هدان ولا أخاف ما تشركون به إلا أن يشاء ربي شيئا وسع ربي كل شيء علما أفلا تتذكرون.
His people remonstrated with him, whereupon Abraham, peace be upon him, said, Do you remonstrate with me concerning Allah, who has guided me to the right way? I do not fear those whom you associate with Allah in His divinity. Only that which my Lord wills, indeed that alone will come by. My Lord embraces all things within His knowledge. Will you not take heed? My Lord embraces all things within His knowledge. Will you not take heed? The word used here is tadakkar, which conveys the sense that somebody who had been either heedless or negligent of something suddenly wakes up to its true meaning. The purpose of Abraham's, peace be upon him, statement was to recall them to their senses by reminding them that their true Lord was not uninformed about their deeds, for His knowledge encompasses everything.
وكيف أخاف ما أشركتم ولا تخافون أنكم أشركتم بالله ما لم ينزل به عليكم سلطانا فأي الفريقين أحق بالأمن إن كنتم تعلمون.
Why should I fear those whom you have associated with Allah in His divinity, when you do not fear associating others with Allah in His divinity, something for which He has sent down to you no authority? Then, which of the two parties has better title to security? Tell us if you have any knowledge.
الذين آمنوا ولم يلبسوا إيمانهم بظلم أولئك لهم الأمن وهم مهتدون.
Those who believe and did not tarnish their faith with wrongdoing, for them there is security, and it is they who have been guided to the right way. And it is they who have been guided to the right way. This entire section shows that those people did not deny the existence of God as the creator of the heavens and earth. Their real guilt was that they associated others in His attributes and His rights over man. In the first place, Abraham, peace be upon him, himself clearly states that they associated others with God as His partners. In the second place, the way in which Abraham, peace be upon him, mentions God in addressing these people is suitable for a people who did not deny the existence of God. We must, therefore, regard as incorrect the opinion of those Quranic commentators who tried to explain this verse on the assumption that the people of Abraham either denied or were unaware of the existence of God and considered their own deities to be the exclusive possessors of Godhead. The expression, and did not tarnish their faith with wrongdoing, led some companions to the misapprehension that perhaps this wrongdoing signified disobedience. But the Prophet, peace be upon him, has made it clear that this wrongdoing signifies shirk, associating others with God in His divinity. The verse means, therefore, that they alone are fully secure and rightly guided who believe in God and do not mix their faith with any polytheistic belief and practice. It is interesting to learn that this incident, which is the starting point of Abraham's, peace be upon him, prophetic career, has found no place in the Bible. It is mentioned only in the Talmud. The Talmudic version, however, is different from the Quranic version in two ways. First, in the Talmudic version, Abraham's, peace be upon him, quest for the truth begins with the sun and then proceeds by way of the stars to his discovery of the one true God. Second, it states that Abraham not only held the sun to be his Lord, but even worshipped it, and that the same happened in connection with the moon.
وَتِلْكَ حُجَّتُنَا آتَيْنَاهَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ عَلَى قَوْمِهِ نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتٍ مَّن نَّشَاءُ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ حَكِيمٌ عَلِيمٌ.
That was our argument, which we gave to Abraham against his people. We raise in ranks whom we will. Truly, your Lord is all-wise, all-knowing.
وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ كُلًّا هَدَيْنَا وَنُوحًا هَدَيْنَا مِن قَبْلُ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِهِ دَاوُودَ وَسُلَيْمَانَ وَأَيُّوبَ وَيُوسُفَ وَمُوسَى وَهَارُونَ وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ.
And we bestowed upon Abraham, peace be upon him, offspring, Ishaq, Isaac, and Yaqub, Jacob, peace be upon them. And each of them did we guide to the right way, as we had earlier guided Noah, peace be upon him, to the right way. And of his descendants we guided Daud, David, and Suleiman, Solomon, Ayub, Job, Yusuf, Joseph, Musa, Moses, and Harun, Aaron, peace be upon them. Thus do we reward those who do good.
وَزَكَرِيَّا وَيَحْيَى وَعِيسَى وَإِلْيَاسَ كُلٌّ مِّنَ الصَّالِحِينَ.
And of his descendants we guided Zachariah, Zechariah, Yahya, John, Isa, Jesus, and Elias, Elias, peace be upon them. Each one of them was of the righteous.
وإسماعيل واليسع ويونس ولوطا وكلا فضلنا على العالمين.
And of his descendants we guided Ismail, Ishmael, Al-Yasa, Elisha, Yunus, Jonah, and Lut, Lot, peace be upon them. And each one of them we favored over all mankind.
ومن آبائهم وذرياتهم وإخوانهم واجتبيناهم وهديناهم إلى صراط مستقيم.
And likewise, we elected for our cause and guided on to a straight way some of their forefathers and their offspring and their brethren.
ذلك هدى الله يهدي به من يشاء من عباده ولو أشركوا لحبط عنهم ما كانوا يعملون.
That is Allah's guidance, wherewith He guides those of His servants whom He will. But if they ever associate others with Allah in His divinity, then all that they had done would have gone to waste. Had those people also ascribed partners to God like the people of Arabia, they would not have achieved the positions they had attained. Some might perhaps have earned places in the rogues' gallery of history as either ruthless conquerors or monuments to greed. But had they not shunned polytheism and adhered to their exclusive and unadulterated devotion to God, they would certainly neither have had the honor of becoming the source of light and guidance to others, nor of assuming the leadership of the pious and the God-fearing.
أولئك الذين آتيناهم الكتاب والحكم والنبوة فإن يكفر بها هؤلاء فقد وكلنا بها قوما ليسوا بها بكافرين.
Those are the ones to whom we gave the book, and judgment and prophethood. And if they refuse to believe in it now, we will bestow this favor on a people who do believe in it. Those are the ones to whom we gave the book, and judgment and prophethood. Here the prophets are mentioned as having been endowed with three things. First, the revealed guidance embodied in the book. Second, hukum. For instance, the correct understanding of the revealed guidance, the ability to apply its principles to the practical affairs of life, the God-given capacity to arrive at right opinions regarding human problems. And third, prophethood, the office by virtue of which they are enabled to lead human beings in the light of the guidance vouchsafed to them. We will bestow this favor on a people who do believe in it. God does not care if the unbelievers and polytheists choose to reject the guidance which has come down from Him, for He had already raised a sizable group of men of faith to truly appreciate its worth.
أولئك الذين هدى الله فبهداه مقتده قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إن هو إلا ذكرى للعالمين.
O Muhammad, peace be upon him, those are the ones Allah guided to the right way. Follow then their way and say, I ask of you no reward for carrying on this mission. It is merely an admonition to all mankind.
وما قدروا الله حق قدره إذ قالوا ما أنزل الله على بشر من شيء قل من أنزل الكتاب الذي جاء به موسى نورا وهدى للناس تجعلونه قراطيس تبدونها وتخفون كثيرا وعلمتم ما لم تعلموا أنتم ولا آباؤكم قل الله ثم ذرهم في خوضهم يلعبون.
They did not form any proper estimate of Allah when they said, Allah has not revealed anything to any man. Ask them, the book which Moses, peace be upon him, brought as a light and guidance for people, and which you keep in bits and scraps, some of which you disclose, while the rest you conceal, even though through it you were taught that which neither you nor your forefathers knew. Who was it who revealed it? Say, Allah, and then leave them to sport with their argumentation. Allah has not revealed anything to any man. In the light of the foregoing discussion and commentary, it is quite evident that this statement comes from the Jews. Since the Prophet, peace be upon him, had asserted that he was a prophet and that a book had been revealed to him, the unbelieving Quraysh and other polytheists of Arabia naturally used to approach the Jews and the Christians who believed in the prophets and in the scriptures, and tried to solicit a candid answer from them as to whether God's words had indeed been revealed to Muhammad, peace be upon him. Whatever answer they gave was then disseminated on all sides by the active opponents of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in order to create revulsion against Islam. This is the reason for mentioning and then refuting this statement by the Jews, which had been used by the opposition as an argument against Islam. One might wonder how a Jew who believes in the Torah as a revealed book of God could say that God had revealed nothing to anyone. At times, blind obstinacy and bigotry cause people to resort to arguments which strike at the roots of their own belief. These people were bent upon denying the prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and this fanaticism had come to dominate them so much that they went so far as to deny the very institution of prophethood. To say that people had not formed any proper estimate of God means that they have erred grossly in assessing His wisdom and power. Whoever says that God did not reveal knowledge of reality and the code for man's guidance has fallen into one of two errors. Either he considers it impossible for man to become the recipient of God's revelation, and this constitutes a gross misjudgment of God's power. Or he thinks that even though God has equipped man with intelligence and with the power to act as he chooses, he has nevertheless made no arrangement for his guidance, but has left him in this world altogether unguided, and thus conferred upon him the right to behave in any way he likes. This is obviously a misjudgment of God's wisdom. Even though through it you were taught that which neither you nor your forefathers knew. Who was it who revealed it? The revelation of the Torah to Moses, peace be upon him, is adduced by way of evidence, since the Jews, to whom this response is addressed, believed that it had been revealed. It is obvious that their recognition of the Torah as the book revealed to Moses, peace be upon him, negated their standpoint that God had never revealed anything to any human being. Their belief in the Torah at least proved that revelation to man is possible and had actually taken place.
وهذا كتاب أنزلناه مبارك مصدق الذي بين يديه ولتنذر أم القرى ومن حولها والذين يؤمنون بالآخرة يؤمنون به وهم على صلاتهم يحافظون.
Like that book, this too is a book which we have revealed, full of blessing, confirming what was revealed before it, so that you might warn the people of the mother of cities, Makkah, and those around it. Those who believe in the hereafter believe in it, and are ever mindful of their prayers. Those who believe in the hereafter believe in it, and are ever mindful of their prayers. The point argued above was that God's word can be, and in the past has been, revealed to human beings. The next point is that the message of Muhammad, peace be upon him, is indeed the revealed word of God. In order to establish this, 4 things are adduced as evidence. First, that this book is overflowing with God's grace and beneficence. In other words, it contains the best possible principles for the well-being and salvation of mankind. It lays down the true doctrines of belief. It urges man to righteous conduct and inspires him to moral excellence. It contains guidance as to how one may live a life of purity. And above all, it is free from any trace of the ignorance, egocentricity, narrow-mindedness, iniquity, obscenity, and other corruptions with which the Jews and the Christians had overlaid their revealed scriptures. Second, this book does not propound any guidance which is essentially divergent from that previously revealed. Rather, it confirms and supports it. Third, the purpose of the revelation of this book is the same as that of the revelation of scriptures in the past, viz., to shake people out of their heedlessness and warn them of the evil consequences of their corruption. Fourth, that the call of this book did not attract those who merely worshipped worldly advantages and were slaves of their animal desires. On the contrary, it attracted those whose vision goes beyond the narrow limits of worldly life. Moreover, the revolution wrought in the lives of people under the influence of this book has rendered them conspicuously distinct from others in respect of piety and godliness. A book with such characteristics and with such a wholesome impact on human beings can only be from God.